All right, hello everyone and welcome to grade 7 coding. It is the 28th of July today. Just checking all my settings that I'm happy with them. Sorry. Okay, we're doing loops with Ray and BB-8, puzzle 7 to 14. So my name is Mr. Paul de Klerk, and there you can see that's what I look like. If you are watching this on the YouTube channel, you can head down to the video description box below, and there you will find links that will take you to our website, and you can register for our lessons there. And that is our website is under that name, Africa Teen Geeks. Okay, that's the people who started the STEM Digital School, and all of our social and web-based platforms are in that name. Okay. If you do get here via having registered and received the links, please remember that you'll have access to the chat box, but I'm going to ask you to only use the chat box to ask questions or to answer questions and not for anything else. Please do not contact anyone privately during the chat, and you can send me a private message, that's fine. And then please keep your video camera switched off. Okay. I'm just checking through the participants tab here. I see some names I haven't seen before, and I see some other names. Okay, so we are busy with revision, right? The reason for that is this is our assessment week. And as said before, I made a mistake, and I thought that the 29th was on Friday for some reason. I don't know why I thought that, but that is what was happening in my mind. And then I realized, no, the 29th is in fact tomorrow. So tomorrow we are going to have our informal assessments. That doesn't change anything to our lessons. The only thing it does is we are doing review instead of doing new puzzles. Now, whether we had assessments this week or not, I had revision planned for this week in my planning anyway, okay? Because we want to talk on some of the concepts over and over again to make sure we understand them very deeply, right? So even tomorrow you can come. We're going to do the lesson as per normal. The only difference is in my presentation tomorrow, I will add in how you can download the assessment, where you can find it. And it's basically a page with 5 links on to 5 different puzzles. And that's what you're going to do, those 5 puzzles. I would love it if you then would submit a screenshot of that to me on my email. But if you don't, the next day and the day thereafter, we are going to discuss that. So then you can just come and join those lessons again. And then you can have a look at what I give marks for and what sort of the things are that I'm looking for when I'm checking these things. Okay. Right, so let's jump into today's lesson. From phones to cars to medicine, technology touches every part of our lives. If you can create technology, you can change the world. So this was said by Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube. All right, so she's obviously one of the more prominent tech people out there. And this is her opinion on technology. Now, something that you need to understand when someone speaks about technology, anytime a device has been invented or created or an idea brought to life, if it requires any computational skills at all, right? So anything that needs to be calculated, data that needs to be processed in order to make a decision. All of those things needs a programmer. There needs to be someone somewhere working on the software. Even those small little round vacuum cleaners that you have that run around all over the house floor, that thing has programming in it as well. Programming that dictates the way that the wheels move, programming that dictates what it should do when it hits a wall. And then some of them you can either program patterns on, and they track patterns and they get to know your house so that they don't even go off stairs if you have stairs and things like that. So all of that is program reliant. Okay, so terms to know. We want to know exactly what a sequence is, and by this time I hope you do. The main logical structure of algorithms or programs. Okay. So a sequence is when we have the main structure of that algorithm or that program. Yes, that's it. Okay, repeat blocks. Loops a specific sequence a predetermined amount of times. Okay, so not all repeat blocks are the same. Some repeat blocks are conditional. Some have a variable ingrained in them that we can adjust, as in a for loop. But this is sort of the first step to that, is how is understanding these loops or these blocks that you set to a predetermined amount of time. Okay, so today we're doing Ray and BB-8, puzzle 7 to 14. So allow me to jump to that coding screen, which is over there. Ray and BB-8. There we go. Puzzle 7. I'm copying the link to you. Awesome. Angelina, that's great. Yes, you can get to know these people and understand what they've done and what they've achieved and what their skill levels are to model perhaps a future version of yourself too. Okay, so for those that are on YouTube, if you type this that you see there highlighted in my address bar, studio.co.org/s/s express, hyphen 2020/stage/6/puzzle/7, you'll get to the same screen that we are on. Okay, or you can just Google co.org lesson 6 puzzle 7 or loops with Ray and BB-8 puzzle 7. Right, and then try to navigate to something that looks like what you're seeing here on the screen. Now, for those of you that are in the lesson, once we close the Zoom call, you can actually just keep your browser open and you will have access to this entire thing, and you can come and code here. If you're new, you can click up here and then you can go back to where all the other lessons are. Just show that to you. And for those of you that are not new but would like to review on your own, I'd advise doing this, especially with assessment week being on top of us, right? So this is lesson 1, the dance party, which is a fun one to do. And then it gets progressively easier. So you see with the warm-up and the sequencing, I skipped that. I'm not reviewing that. I'm only reviewing from loops, conditionals, functions, variables, for loops, right? So my revision will also only go to around here because we did this very recently, and all the rest we have to sort of practice, okay? The other ideas. So these are the puzzles within that lesson. Okay, so now what we have to do is very straightforward. we need to get BB-8 to go. So the whole story is like this. BB-8 needs to collect scrap metal. Ray tells BB-8 where to go and what to do. But we have to code BB-8 over here. So we obviously want to use a move forward. And then we want to turn right. And then we want to move forward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So we loop that 5 times. Okay. So that one obviously worked well. Now, some things that we need to pay attention to. We have a restriction of 5 blocks. We also have a restriction as to how many move forwards we can use. So the moment we're using more, it starts shouting at us. The last thing is that you don't have to use the repeat as we always do at the top and then have the bottom be only a statement. You can actually have the sequence at the top and then the repeat can be at the bottom like we have here. Okay, are you guys ready for puzzle 8? Just type a yes in the chat box. I assume you are. Okay, good. Loops even work with more than one block inside. Can you loop this sequence? So before we can loop it, we need to make sure we understand what the sequence is going to do. It's going to make us move forward, move forward, move forward, and turn right. So if we loop it, the same is going to happen. Move forward, move forward, move forward, turn right, move forward, move forward, move forward, turn right. So my question to you in the chat box is, how many times do we repeat this entire sequence? What number do I put in there? Three. And yes, that is absolutely correct. So just bear in mind, when you see this for the first time, some people want to call it 4, but there's nothing here to collect. So 3 is more than enough. Okay, well done to the one that chose 3. Can you do it? Can you try to get all the scrap metal using one loop? Try programming it all out, then finding the repeating code to put in a loop. So with this is where we follow that problem-solving workflow, which says identify the problem, solve the problem, test the solution, adjust the solution. Okay? So we need to identify the problem, solving this entire thing. Now we need to break it into smaller problems. Okay, instead of me looking at this entire thing, let me see just how can I solve the first little problem here. Okay, then after I've done that, we need to take into account there are restrictions as to how many blocks we can use. Right. So now I want to look for a pattern. If I go down here and then there and down and there and down and there and down and there and down and there. So down and right seems to work. They try to trick you to think it's one down, two across. One down, two across. But that actually throws you off. One down, two across, right? Okay. So now we're doing one down and we're turning right. So now we're just testing our first solution. Then we try this and this. Okay, test that. One, two, three, four, five. Should be good. Was this one easy enough? We only used one loop. Nice, a challenge puzzle. This time I want you to type in the chat box to me what blocks you would like me to use here. Okay, you can type one block at a time, it doesn't matter. Because this first solution or the first part of the solution is very easy. Second part is also easy. It just goes about figuring it out and putting it together. Oh, and I want to see if we can do it in less than 10 blocks. So type in the chat box to me, what blocks do you want me to place on the workspace? Any ideas from anyone? There's a move forward requested, yes. Okay. Angelina says, let's try repeat 5 times, move forward, turn left, move forward, turn right. Okay, let's try that. Move forward, turn left, move forward, turn right. Repeat it 5 times. Now I'm telling you we can finish that in 2 more blocks. How? Only 2. Any ideas? Nothing? Okay. We're obviously going to repeat one action 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And we can just place the move backwards action there. Okay. So there are a few options here. Well, two at least. Okay, those two options are as follows. So we're going to run down here using this, which is very similar to what we created in the previous one. Okay. And then over here, we can repeat 5 times, go backwards. That's going to use less blocks here, but it doesn't necessarily look that nice. He's running backwards, you see? Maybe we want him to go forwards. So for that, you can just turn left twice and then move forwards 5 times. Okay. So it's up to you which way you want to do it. If you want him to turn around or not, it doesn't really matter. But this is saving us on block space. Okay. Right, so just in case, here's the link again. Just in case somebody maybe isn't where we are. Right, so for this, keep going. Use what you have learned to pick up all of the scrap metal. So for this, we need to move along to here, then move there, then move here, then move there. But it seems like a different amount each time. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. So let's think. 1, 2. Okay, now this is something that you need to remember. If we are using 2 of the same actions, and if we are using that action inside a repeat times 2, we're using the same amount of blocks here, right? So they were using 3 blocks because 1 is assigned to the when run block. And they were using 3 blocks again because 1 is assigned to the when run block. So if you're only going to move forward twice or do the same thing 2 times, then you can just use 2 of those blocks. You don't have to use a repeat. Okay, and this is what we want to do. Then we want to turn to the right, which they probably, or which you know now you can toggle on. Right, so now that we're there, we need to move forward 1, 2, 3 times. Now we want to use a repeat, and I'll show you why. If you do this, you're using 6 blocks, right? So we've added 2. If we do this, we've added 3. So we're using 7 blocks. Then we want to turn right again. This time, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And then one last turn right. And just a move maybe. There we go. Now what's important to notice here is how there is a lack of a pattern from that first path to the last one. Okay? You can see that we don't really have a solid pattern that we can follow. So it means that we cannot repeat everything. We can only repeat those small sections or single statements, right? The move forward 3 times and then the move forward 4 times and so on. Okay. Okay. So this is puzzle number 12. Go BB-8. You are doing great. Keep it up. So what has to happen here is we need to collect everything again. So tell me in the chat box, what do you think? What blocks are we to use? Any ideas there? Okay, move forward and a turn right. Now let's quickly look here. We're going to move forward 1, 2, 3 times. Not only once. So to make it a bit shorter, so that we're only using 2 blocks for that, we rather do this. And then you're right. Yes, we turn right. Now that we're here, we want to move forward again. 1, 2, 3 times. And this time, we're turning left to face this way. So now let's test this to see first. Okay, so that obviously worked well. So now we can see that this pattern here and that pattern, well, at least these two and these two, they're going to look exactly the same. So we have a few options, right? The first option is to do this again. Like that. Move forward. Turn right. Then we're going to move forward again. And then we can stop, right? So now we have used 12 out of 12. And if we run this, we'll get there. Okay. However, there might be a different way to do this. So the different way is to take these out, because if you put this next to each other, you can see it looks like that. This and this looks exactly the same, except for that last turn left. But even if we make that last turn left happen also, it's not going to cause an error. So what we can do is what we call a nested loop. So we take one loop and place other loops inside of it. And then we run it almost as the same. So everything functions the same. It's just that last turn left which is extra, but that doesn't cause any issues. Okay. So let's just look at what we're saying here. So we're saying, okay, we want you to move forward 3 times. Then we want you to turn right. Then we want you to move forward 3 times again, then turn left. Okay. So that's why we have the turns after these loops, because we don't want them to happen inside. They need to happen separately. Then we're saying, okay, after you've done that, we want you to go back and do all of this again. Move forward 3 times again, turn right again, move forward 3 times again, and turn left again. Okay, so here we have a question. These puzzles teach us how to debug by asking us a question, forcing us to read the code and decide what's going to happen. So this says, look closely at the code below. What will happen when you click run? This is BB-8 will travel too far in the first loop. B says BB-8 will not travel far enough in the first loop in order to get all of the scrap metal. And then C says BB-8 will collect all of the scrap metal with no problems. The last one says, I don't know. So we have to try and figure this out. So this one says move forward twice. 1, 2. 1, 2. So we're going to end up there and then turn left. So obviously that's not ideal. And that means that we are not traveling far enough. But now look what happens here. Not only does the first one not complete, but it affects some of the other ones as well. Okay, so you can see that because he didn't travel far enough, now he's not only missing out on these ones, he's missing out there as well. Okay, so here's the last one. In this, there are some lesson extras that we can do as well. So what I want to know from you is, what do you think is the best way to get to this one, right? Okay, good job for those that have done it already. Now you can share the code with me here in the chat box. So you can choose, there are obviously a couple of ways that you can get here. I want to travel at least on 2 so that we can compare and see which ones are shorter and which ones are not shorter. So in the chat box, type your ideas to me. Any ideas are welcome. Okay, so if I look at this, I see the first most obvious path is to just go straight, turn right, and go straight again. So I'm going to test that one out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Try again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to move forward 6 times. Then I want to turn right, so I can just set the toggle. Then I'm going to move forward 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And test this. So that worked, obviously. We're using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks. So what I would like to know is, out of curiosity's sake, if I do this, whether this puzzle was set to self-terminate. What that means is that it'll stop running the code once you have achieved your goal. And it does. Okay. Now, what's important to understand is not all programs do this. So you might have one that'll self-terminate like this the moment you've reached the goal, but some other ones might continue even after you've reached the goal. It would try to continue implementing this code that's after that, right? So you can see there's 2 more move forwards and this turn right left. Now, if this did, it wouldn't have impacted anything in a major way, but just keep in mind that it can possibly work that way. Okay. So I see another pattern as well, and that is either here, right? So you can turn right and move forward and turn left and move forward and right and keep going, but that's going to make you bump there. However, if you go this way, you're through. So I want to try and build that. So I'm going to try and move forward. Then a turn right. Then another move forward, not move backwards. Then a turn left. Okay, let me just test this. Seems to be good to go. This is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Just in case our maths might be wrong, let's try this 4 times. And then 2 move forwards. No. There we go. Okay. So this is also a viable option. The other way was shorter, using less blocks. This one seems shorter to travel, but you have more turns in them. So it all depends on what you actually want to see here. Okay. Right. So here is a nice one to practice repeats on. I want to show you something here just before I leave you with this. This one's going to be your homework. Just remember that after you've collected 5 here, if you try to collect one more than that on this space, as soon as this space becomes empty and you try to collect on that space, it will give you an error, okay? And remember, with this, you need to use a collect command, whereas previously you could have just used the, in Ray and BB-8, BB-8 only had to move across the scrap metal to pick it up. When this exercise, you have to use the collect prompt to actually prompt Laurel to pick up that magnet. Not magnet, gem, to pick up that gem. Okay. So this is, I said, is your homework. You can do that. And then when you're done, you can send it to me via email. I'd love to see the work that you're doing. You can screenshot that and send it to me. And tomorrow we're going to jump into while loops with the farmer. So these are quite tricky. Just send the link again. There you go. So the while loop with the farmer is quite tricky, but a lot of fun. Okay. You're welcome. Okay, if you've done that and you've taken a screenshot, please send it to my email. There it is on the screen. Thank you so much for being here. Invite your friends to join us tomorrow. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter by searching for Africa Teen Geeks. We are on YouTube as well. Okay. Have an awesome day and bye-bye. See you tomorrow.